Tell who the old guy was. They come up with the phones, and I've got books. About makes me feel as old when we split us up in young and old groups the other day. I just turned 55 like the week before, and all of a sudden I'm in old group.
Hit the cutoff.
Yeah. I should have gone first. For those that don't know me, my name is Jon King. My family and I have been coming here to Old River Baptist Church since 2022. We moved here during COVID, so that messed us all up. But we eventually found Old River Baptist, and it's been great. My wife Andrea and I, we work in the kids ministry or volunteer quite a bit in there. We have 2 kids, Bella, which is 9, Ben, which is 6. So that kind of got us in the kids ministry, to be over there with them. Yeah. So, but let's see, I grew up Catholic. And I can't say, I mean, we went to church. Part of the thing was, though, too, in my early years, up until the time I was 11, my dad was in the military, so we moved around a bit, never really got grounded in a church. We went occasionally. I remember going to vacation Bible school one summer, and that's the only one I remember. I think we were living in Memphis at the time. But when we got out of the military and moved back, both my folks were from Texarkana, Texas. And when we moved back there, we started going back to church. Went to Sacred Heart Catholic Church. And it was just going through the motions. It was like a lot of us talked about. Saturday night mass, maybe Sunday morning, Wednesday night CCD, so it's like a Bible study. We were going as youth, just going through the motions. Got confirmed. Wasn't serious. Supposedly that's becoming an adult in the church and in your faith. And I didn't know who you're supposed to pick out a saint that you take their name in confirmation. And I had no idea. I read through the saints, couldn't get to one, so I decided, well, let's see if any of them have my birthday. Sure enough, September 30th, St. Jerome took a thorn out of a lion's paw. So I was like, oh, that's great. I'll be confirmed St. Jerome. So that's how serious I was and how devout I was. But wasn't really getting the faith at home either. But we were going through the motions. I was also kind of a very logical child. Faith was something that was hard for me. Science and math, that was easy. Well, it was easier. Then one year, it was in the 8th grade. They taught Greek mythology in 8th grade for like 6-9 weeks, something like that. And we went through that, and I remember the teacher saying that Greek mythology was to teach morals to kids, and or to the Greeks, I guess. But so it clicks in my head. I was like, I wonder what is that what the biblical stories are? You know, that's what went in my little brain, and so I started thinking about that. But it's just none of it made any sense. There was a lot of battle in my head. My best friend was actually the son of a Baptist minister, and I don't know if he only knew the battles going on in my head, but one day, this summer, between my 8th and 9th grade year, I'd been down visiting my grandparents, and I jumped on my bike, started riding it back to my house, and I don't know why, but all of a sudden, it just thinking about creation and divinity, and all of a sudden, all these different things going off in my mind, I just decided, you know what? God is created. I don't care about Big Bang Theory or anything like that. God created this earth. I didn't do much more than that, but it got me kind of going back to church more and getting serious about youth group. I got very involved in that. But that was just kind of that was a time that I don't know. It wasn't when I was not saved then, and I know that now. I didn't know what saved was there for a while, so when anybody asked me when I was saved, I said, sure, I was saved, and point to that day and that bike ride home. Years later, reading through my Bible, I come across something, and it kind of reminded me of that day, but it was because it was a matter of fact. That was the day. Matter of fact, God created this earth. Jesus died for my sins. God, I don't know, but it's in 2 Samuel 22:32, and it's for who is God besides the Lord, and who is the rock except for our God. It's like that, matter of fact. I don't know why that clicked for that memory of me in 8th grade. That was like, I was matter of fact then that God created this earth, and that just seemed matter of fact. It is God. I don't know, strange things that hit you sometimes. But so, like I said, I didn't understand being saved, and I told people about them that I was saved at that day. Fast forward a few years where I'd been very involved in youth group, been a leader in youth group. We'd actually gone and taught other youth groups how to have a strong youth group. I mean, all my friends were youth group. I mean, it was just, got very involved. But then one night, after our Bible study, we had a meeting that the priest was going to come talk to us, and before our youth group meeting. So evidently something had happened, and one of our adult leaders, adult ministers in youth, something had happened. I think he'd kind of lost his temper from what I found out later. And anyways, the priest decided that this man couldn't help us anymore. And it really hurt me at that time, because we'd been through so much and we had really grown. I felt I was growing in faith, but it was that I don't know how many of y'all were hot-headed at 17 years old, but I can tell you I was. When I heard that, I got so mad. I mean, fist clenched, tears rolling down my face. I can't believe I just didn't jump on that priest and found him. I still don't know to the day I got so mad. That drove me away from church for about 20 years. Anybody that asked me if I believed in God, did I believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins, I would say yes, absolutely. But what I don't believe is religion. I don't believe in people in it. I think they corrupt it. Now, this is back during the time, too, we'd have like Jerry Falwell and all this, and there was all kinds of mess. That it wasn't just in my little church that I was going to. It was hard to believe. It was like people are messing it up. It's people. I thought that all was fine, me going through life that way. Then I met Andrea, my wife. I had I was going down a different road. I didn't go to college right away. I decided to stay and work. I was doing a lot of drinking and just living anything but like a faithful servant of God should. So Andrea and I were dating, and she talked me into going to church with her, and I did a couple of times. I was very defensive because of the past, and she knew that. And so, to her credit, she didn't push me to go. She was very patient. I did go. I remember a fire and brimstone spit coming out, one of those sermons, man, and that was another moment. It was like I wanted to throw like this queen over the top of me. Just I don't know. That wasn't a good experience. We ended up kind of settling down on one church that we went to, but we didn't get involved in the church. We were back row Baptists. We walked in, we sat down, we went through service, we got out before anybody could talk to us. And then a couple years later, we kind of moved off, Andrea and I. We were still dating, long distance stuff, but I'd left college for work. She left, and we were moving around long distance thing, but we both ended up in North Carolina at the same time for a while. And I got some time off from my job, and we went on a date for the first time in several weeks. And I just knew this girl that I knew it was her. Let's put it that way. And so I proposed to her. And we kept moving around. She stayed in North Carolina. I jetted to Louisiana for a job, and we kept missing each other. But eventually we were married, and we settled down in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And we got to go to church. I don't know what happened there. People can talk about they were saved, and they can point to a specific sermon, a revival, a song. I can't. I don't. I can't. I can tell you that there were people there. There was a pastor in that church. Skipped over this, but it was Westlake First Baptist Church there in Louisiana, just north of Lake Charles, and I just knew it was different. I knew I was different. I wanted to live different. I felt Jesus in my heart. I felt saved for the first time in my life. I felt different. I wanted to live different. I couldn't get enough of church. I looked forward to it. I wanted to be there with these people. I wanted to be there with the pastor. I wanted to be there with my Sunday school teachers. I wanted to be there with God. I wanted to pray. I had a 45-minute drive to work in the morning. I spent that time with God. I spent that time talking to God, praying to God, thanking Him, asking for other stuff. I spent that time with God. There, in Bible study, we came across another thing, and it just, during that time, it struck me. It's in Colossians 1. Let's say out in verse 9 and 10, but it says, "Since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you. We continually ask God to fill you with the knowledge of His will through all the wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives, so that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please Him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work and growing in the knowledge of God." That growing in the knowledge of God just hit me. You think when you're saved, you just have this lightning bolt come down and you get all this knowledge and you can start talking scripture like everybody else around you. We all know that doesn't happen. But that increase in the knowledge of God, I wanted to do that in a relationship with Him. I want to be able to talk scripture and to learn more. And that hit me. Then, with all that though, it's not like not having that time that I could point to that I was saved. There's doubt that creeps in, and I would start wondering, well, am I saved? I feel that way, but why can't I point to this time and say I was saved at this minute, this day, during this song, whatever it was? I didn't have that. I knew I felt different. I felt Jesus in my heart. I felt that desire. But what was wrong? Why didn't I have that moment? So that doubt would creep in. Find another book. I was in a class I didn't get to go to all the time, but here there was Adrian Rogers wrote this, what every Christian ought to know. Another good book. There was a couple things reading this book that made me, it spoke to me about that. There's one, it says, sometimes the question is asked, are you saved? The answer comes, yes, I am saved. I remember walking down the aisle when I was 9 years old, giving my hand to the pastor and my heart to Jesus Christ. I may not be living for God right now, but I'll admit that. But I know that I'm saved because I remember what I did when I was a 9-year-old boy. I remember believing on Jesus Christ. Well, it talks about how the Bible never uses such as a proof of salvation. Over here back, it talks about that doubt. It says doubt doesn't necessarily mean that you haven't been saved. As a matter of fact, we only tend to doubt that which we believe. Doubt is your spirit, what pain is in your body. Pain doesn't mean that one is dead. Pain means that there is life, but something is wrong. A part of the body is not functioning. He points and cites another book in Scripture that really hits here. It's about the confidence and the doubting. This is in 1 John 5:10. He who believes in the Son of God believes. He who believes in the Son of God has the witness in himself. He who does not believe in God has made him a liar, because he has not believed the testimony of God that God has given his Son. So it's he who believes. I knew I believed. Every once in a while that doubt creep in, but I knew I believed. So that meant a lot of sense to me. It made me feel better that I was saved. The doubt, although it's not fine, it's pain to your body. It's the doubt is what pain is to your body. That doubt is to your spirit. But it made me feel better. Still doubt, but less. There was also when I started, after I was saved, not only was it present tense wanting to be better, I looked back at some parts of my life, and it made me see things a little bit different. I don't know how many of y'all know, my job, my career is, I'm a wildland firefighter for the federal government, so it's Smokey Bear type stuff. Early in my career, I was on a 20-man hand crew, and up in Idaho, and we'd been working there a few days. Our crew and the local hotshots had been burning this ridge out in front of the fire. We were on it for the third day. We should be pulling it together that day. Well, a thunderstorm, we were warned a thunderstorm was headed towards us, so all the downdrafts, the lightning, about everything you get with a thunderstorm except for rain. And it would be there over us in 15 minutes. Well, we wanted to try and pull it together, so we stayed. When that thunderstorm hit us, it was the first time in my life that I doubted whether I was going to survive that day. I didn't know. Smoke laid in, flames all over the place, these hot brands hitting you. We were all trying to hike out. Steep country, having a hand tools up to the person in front, turn around and grab it and get up. 100-foot, 20-foot trees falling around us. I mean, it was bad. But when we hit clear air, the guy in front of me just dropped. He fell out. I still can't believe I didn't stomp him right over him. But he fell down, and I kind of hit him. John, are you okay? And he didn't answer me. John, are you okay? Still didn't answer. By this time, our squad boss had made it up there. It's like, John, are you all right? He just raised his hand up in front of me and said, I'm okay, I'm just praying. That day, that didn't mean anything to me that day. I went away, started joking with the guys, started sharpening my tool, started getting ready to go back down that ridge. But years later, after I'd been saved, I look back at that day. Even though I thought I believed, I knew that then that my faith was weak back then. I could tell anybody that I believed in God, that I believed Jesus had died for my sins. But if my faith was really weak, really strong that day, I'd have been on my knees too. Why wasn't I? I was ashamed of that. But I learned about that. I learned how weak my faith was, and I was glad it was strong and doing everything I could to just to increase my knowledge of God, to increase my relationship. This is the second time I've given my testimony. The first time was after I'd been saved. It was in that church over in Louisiana. And I told them that story as well as testament that I had changed, that I knew I had. And at the end, like any idiot does, I mentioned that I hoped and prayed that nothing like that ever happened again. But if it did, that I would act like John had in front of me, that I would pray to God, that I would thank Him. The very next season. That didn't exactly happen, but I was in the wilderness of western Montana, and I'm not going to go through this story, but I was a task force leader in charge of what the incident commander called making a survivable space. We knew it was coming, but we needed to make this area survivable. And that was me. That was me and my task force. We were in charge of it. We knew the fire was coming. We probably should have left. I don't know why we were there to this day, but we were still there. That day that we were supposed to have that weather event and have to have those 60-mile-an-hour winds coming, it was the most peaceful day. Those winds never came. It was calm, beautiful day, birds chirping. And that day I've never prayed so much in my life in a short time. And I could look around at others too, and I really felt they were praying as well. I didn't ask you. There's nobody can tell me that wasn't a miracle, that was not God. Because we were supposed to have those winds show up and they did not. And we left. And the very next day as I'm driving out, because I'd more than completed my assignment, it started raining a little bit on my drive out. And I just felt that was God saying, yep, it was me. But so those two things, I've thought of and go back to, but the number one thing, and I've thought about this a lot, that hot-headed 17-year-old kept me away. And there was a lot of time wasted, and that is never going to happen again. We can have things in churches, and we can argue about the color of carpet or other things and get mad, but there is no way. We need to find a way, because I'm not being driven away from God again. And I don't want to drive anybody else away from Him either.